Welcome to the presentation of standardized patients. Today we're talking about the differences and similarities between daytime and exam work, presented by Angela Bokenfour. So, there's two types of SP work. One of the types is called daytime, and the other type of work is referred to as exam work or exam roles. With daytime work, there's a few things that kind of landmark and bookmark that type of booking. Number one, it's primarily learner focused. This means that the people that you're going to interact with are either learning a skill or having the ability to fine tune a skill. In some instances, we're asked to do small scale assessments. So one class of students is going to come in and demonstrate their assessment or their ability to interview to an instructor or having you mark them. The daytime work happens typically Monday through Saturday. Although we don't have a ton of Saturday bookings, this is becoming a little bit more common in terms of space availability and booking. So, but by and large, it always will happen Monday through Friday. Bookings can occur at various places. So the main place is the University of Alberta. We also send a large number of SPs over to NAIT or Grant MacEwan. And then there's places like Norquest or other smaller sites that we might send SPs to on occasion. But it's always important to look at where your booking is going to happen before you head out for the booking. We ask you to sign a one-time contract. So what this means is that when you are first hired for a daytime role and there's a role coming up that is applicable to you and you're able to do it, we ask you to come in and sign a piece of paper, and we go over the specifications of that when you're in. But just know that we automatically will renew that for you as long as you remain active. If you decide to take a leave or not work for a while and that contract lapses, then we get you to sign another one when you come back and you're eager and keen and ready to go. So that's a one-time contract. It lasts you as long as you are actively engaged in the program. For daytime work, you can be paid via direct deposit or you can have a check issued, whichever one works best for you and your tracking systems. Names that you will be contacted by 99% of the time for daytime work will be Petra, Michelle, or Vladi. On occasion, you might get a call from somebody else, but these three individuals manage the majority of our daytime work. When it comes to exams, so these are primarily assessment focused. The candidates coming through are coming through to have a particular avenue or a particular practice or a particular health profession assessed in terms of their ability. It's normally large-scale assessment, so we fill various rooms at various locations to make sure that we're assessing in an efficient manner up to, sometimes we have candidates, we see 140 candidates for one exam. Most of the exams at this point in time occur on weekends. Our training for the exams happen on weekdays or weekends leading up to the exam, but the exam itself has traditionally been a Saturday or Sunday. The main base for all of our exam work is in HCERC, so this is on the University of Alberta campus. There is one contract per exam season. So you can't just sign a contract in September and work the fall exams. Every exam has its own specifications in terms of what you're signing. And so although people get tired of it and they're like, yeah, but I just signed one. Unfortunately, that doesn't matter, but it's a good thought. There's also different payment specifications for every exam that you work. So different rates of pay, as well as different rules about how you get paid and what you need to do in order to be paid. Names that you would hear or work with if you were doing exams would be myself, or Amy, Michelle, Petra, and Vladi. It's really important to talk about how the two types of SP work is the same. So, one fact, SPs are always paid. Another fact is that SPs are trained to portray the specific role in a standardized fashion. Standardization is a huge key, hence your name, standardized patient. It's also important, though, that SPs understand that you're expected to uphold program expectations and professional conduct. This doesn't matter whether you're doing daytime work or exam work. If you're doing daytime, the expectations and the professional conduct are just for the daytime stuff. And if you're doing exams, we ask you to uphold not only our program professional conduct and expectations, but also the ones that the examining board has that are specific to that exam. Don't worry, we go over all of this information when you actually get a role, but it's important to know that the expectations are there, regardless of whether you do daytime or exam. All SPs are recruited, booked, and confirmed and communicated with through email as our primary role. This is to say, it's not to say that we won't pick up the phone and call you to find out if you're available or fit the specifications of a role, but it is to say that all of our payment, all of our booking and confirmation will all come via an email. So if you don't have an address, now would be a fine opportunity to get a reliable email address, and just make sure you let us know what it is. There's a few frequently asked questions that are worth going through. So we're going to go through these questions here, and I just thought it would be helpful if we broke it down in terms of how we would answer the question if it was exam work and how we would answer the question if it was daytime, just so that you could start to see some of the differences as well as some of the similarities between the two. So, how much money can I make? Well, totally valid question. With exam work, there's not really an easy answer. Every exam pays different. One exam might pay 18 an hour, one exam might pay 35 based on the role that you're playing. There's really no minimum hours worked. So, for an exam, we might regularly ask you to come in for a half-hour training. It's not super common, but there is one exam where it happens. We're not going to pay you any more than the time that you're there, and that's just how the exam works. You will either get a code or a coupon, or you'll get a travel premium paid in terms of parking. It's up to you how you use it. If you're given a parking code, it's usually only good on exam day, and the training and anything leading up to that is your responsibility. If you're paid a travel premium on your paycheck, then it really doesn't matter how you use it, because everyone is going to get that travel premium at the end of the day. With daytime, so there is a typical standard rate of pay per hour. There are a few roles where pay might be increased just because it's considered a personal or a slightly more invasive exam. But by and large, everybody is paid the same amount across the board per hour, and it doesn't matter whether you work a Saturday or you work a Tuesday, you're going to get paid the same amount. There is a minimum booking amount, so this means that if your booking is 3 hours or less, you are still paid for 3 hours. So you might only do an hour of work and you'll get paid for 3 hours. These rules are becoming less and less only because clients are starting to understand that they have to pay you for 3 hours anyway, so why not have enough students to make you actually work for 3 hours? However, just know that if your booking is less than that, you will still get paid for the accumulation of 3 hours of work. There is a travel premium based on the hours worked. So, at last count, this cutoff was 4 hours, which means if you worked 3 hours and 59 minutes on the booking form, that would mean that you would get paid this amount to park or to drive or to train or bus or hitchhike or Uber, however you wanted to get there. If the booking is 4 hours or more, based on the assumption that if you had to pay for parking, it would be more expensive the longer you worked, the travel premium is a different amount. They're set amounts, so if it's 4 hours or less, it's this amount, and if it's 4 hours or more, it's this amount. Is training really required? Well, when it comes to exam work, the answer is always, always, always. There's really no exceptions, like really, really no exceptions. The exams take their training very seriously, and we would ask you to do the same. With daytime, it really is role and site dependent, so some roles really desperately don't require training. For example, the other day I portrayed a role where I just had to have my liver examined all day long. I mean, I thought it was super fun. Some people might not, but it's really hard to ask somebody to train me to portray that role. There's nothing I need to do or say. The role is just laying on the bed and having a candidate come in and palpate and measure my abdomen or measure my liver. Other roles do require training, and we make sure that you are aware of what the situation is before you accept the role. It also is dependent if it is a repeat role, so it's a role that you've done before, or it's a brand new one. An example of this would be there is one role where I portray the role for almost every faculty at NAIT. So the paramedics use it, MedLab uses it, pathology uses it, uh, you name it. X-ray uses it, ultrasound uses it. And so it would be kind of redundant for me to train before I went into every simulation portraying that exact same role. Um, so if it was brand new, then I would probably come in for training. But if it's one that I've done before, the expectation is that I would just carry over my expertise every time I went back. Hey, tell me about the benefits of working for your program. Oh, I am so glad you asked this question. Well, if you're doing exam work, you can either be assured that you have a condition or assured that you don't. Um, when you have 80 candidates come through your room and try and tell you that you have a broken toe, you might leave actually thinking you have a broken toe, which is like a great humorous benefit to working exams. You're very well fed, so most, if not all of our exams are catered food, and you get to meet a lot of great people. If you do daytime work, some of the perks are that you still get to meet a lot of great people. And this is the best part, you get to pack your own food, which is like fantastic. And you also get to learn a lot. Question that we get a lot is, am I evaluated? So I go in and do a role and I need to know if I'm going to be evaluated. So the example that I have for this is 4-H and 4-H evaluations. I will give you the disclaimer, I don't know that kind of angry looking farmer, nor do I really know the steer that he is trying to show. However, when you're doing exam work, you are kind of almost being evaluated unofficially, officially all of the time. This is to say that the same way that when you bring a steer into an evaluation, I'm sitting there as a judge and I'm watching how you lead your steer in. I'm watching how you have the harness on your steer. I'm watching how you've groomed the steer. If it's a horse, have you brushed that mane? Have you trimmed nails? Have you put a ribbon on? I'm assessing how you deliver your speech. And then I'm assessing how you parade your animal and then how you leave with your animal. That kind of goes the same for exams. So you're kind of being assessed throughout all of the training sessions in terms of your ability and standardization to portray a role, as well as coming into the dry run. With daytime, all of our preceptors are sent a quality evaluation form or quality assurance form, and they fill it out based on some factors like, were you able to portray the role? Did they have any feedback? And how did the overall impression and standardization work for you? And then if there's any issues, you'll get contacted by the trainer. So in conclusion, an SP is an SP is an SP for the most part. You are asked to complete the same task, which is standardized portrayal, although sometimes the specifications and the details about the case will change. And know that each examining board is unique in how they approach certain aspects, and it's imperative to attend all of those specific exam training sessions. If you have any questions, now would be your time to ask. Otherwise, welcome aboard, and I hope that the differences between daytime and exam have been made a little bit more clear.